Welcome to this week's Fireside Chat with Jesse. I am joined today by Don Hansen, CEO of Regents Capital Corporation. Thanks for joining me, Don.
Glad to do it.
No, I'm glad to have you back on here. I want to say it's been 4 years. I think you were probably one of the top first 10 people I interviewed back in the day. You agreed to sit down with me. So it's nice to see your face again and glad to have you back on the program, Don.
Yeah, glad to do it.
So Don, for those people who don't know you, do you mind just kind of introducing yourself and your career in equipment finance?
Sure. So I'm Don Hansen. I'm Chief Executive Officer of Regents Capital Corporation. We're an independent located here in Orange County, California. Started our business in 2013, so we're just rounding the corner of our 11th year. We started in December of 2013, so I really consider January the go time. I've been in the equipment finance industry since 1994, so I guess I've reached grizzled veteran status in doing that. And really,
You say 94?
94, it's like hot tub time machine equipment finance when we really go back there. So, it's part. So yeah, I started in the industry on the sales front, and then throughout my career was just given different opportunities to kind of touch all aspects of the business, and then really dove into the middle market sector of our business, and that's really where I think I've done most of my developmental work, and then that parlayed into me taking the leap to start Regents, back in 2013.
Perfect. And let's just go right into Regents, if you don't mind, Don. Just a quick little overview of the organization.
Yeah, so the business started with us as an independent, where most of our financing, actually not most, all of our financing was done through syndicating transactions that we originated. We started with the direct to end user sales model. So we built a team of dedicated account executives that would reach out to businesses nationwide, generally focused on companies within 25 to 500 million in revenues. But we were industry agnostic, we were equipment agnostic. I've always considered us a credit-based equipment finance company. When I tell people that, it's like, I don't care where you're located, what you're buying, within reason that it fits your business, what industry you're in. I care that when we review your credit, we make a decision that we reasonably believe you're going to pay us back in full. If we can get there, we're generally going to find a way to create an opportunity that works for our client and for us.
So perfect. Oh, keep going.
Yeah. Sorry, okay. And then that model served us well and built up a great business that gave us different opportunities to expand. And a few years back, we built together a pretty substantial warehouse facility, and with that in place, we felt we had all the tools in the chest to go into the vendor market. So last year we started our vendor initiative, and that's been significantly impactful to the business. So I'm happy to report, at least from our end, Q1 year-over-year growth was like in excess of 100%. So we've never really experienced that level of scale before, but I'm really proud of our organization for how we've responded. All the investments we've made in our infrastructure, technology, people have all paid dividends because the volume has doubled and we really haven't missed a beat.
No, that's fantastic. That was going to be my next question is, over the last 4 years, kind of what's material change? Like, do you have any idea what your headcount was in 2021?
Yeah,
compared to where you are today?
Probably like, maybe 40, 50 people, and now we're like touching 80. The difference about our organization then and now is of the 40, it probably would have been 90% front end originations facing, with a smaller cadre of operations team. Now it's almost 50-50 to support all the things that we're doing. We're handling, servicing, we're handling customer service, where before through those syndication channels, I told you how we funded our business. Now it's all our responsibility. So it's really expanded the scope of our operations team, which has been an adjustment we we've got a great team of talented individuals on both sides of the house, and it works really well.
From a business model change, right? The way you guys used to do it, it's quick, get revenue in real quick, right? But
Yeah.
then there's the opportunity lost on the back end.
Yeah.
Now it's probably a healthy split, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. We've maintained those syndication relationships. How we do business with them has changed, but the underlying nature is they're great partners for us. And I reaffirm, that's one of the great things about our industry is making these strong relationships with not only the companies but the individuals, and that's where folks may move from one place to the other, but when you've done good business together, those relationships carry over, and that's been a big benefit to Regents. And then, yeah, the learning curve for our own organization, building up, uh, the infrastructure, the processes, the new policies. That was the biggest thing when we changed to the warehouse facility where we're making all the credit decisions. Is literally, well, what about this? What about that? What about this? And we're literally writing policy in the moment, like, I never really thought about that part of it. I guess we better write something down. And that was probably the last 2 years of sort of policy development on the fly because we're now responsible.
sure, no, I mean, you were always had some skin in the game no matter what, but
Yeah.
now it's just like, wait, let's
Yeah.
let's check that.
But when you have some skin, it's sort of a joint decision on like how we're gonna do things, right? When it's all of it, it's all on you. So you've got to make the call. Not only that, you then have to make the call for the longevity of the transaction and how it's going to play out over time. So it's
Sure.
got, we want it to be compartmentalized to the extent that, if we did want to sell a portfolio or move things out, it has to be congruent with everybody else out there and in alignment with what they're doing, or it's going to be difficult to do so.
So with that growth, and I guess that now shift in business model, growing pains, opportunities. I mean, because I think it's a natural progression. Not to say you guys were ever a broker, but you almost see that
Mhm.
with some of these people where it's like, oh, I'm just a broker. I don't want to deal with anything. Just let me originate, get rid of it. Then there's like what you guys were doing before, and now you're taking on the book. Now it's like, so just kind of walk through that progression, Don, and what it
Yeah,
means
it's a
to the
lot.
organization.
We have big aspirations for the business. We want to be an enterprise level player. We think we're sort of on our way in doing that. And this new growth spurt that we're going through is sort of proving out that we've got the capacity to do so. Um, the biggest learning curve is that, if you really look at the growth of independence or where independents kind of move, and I'm using the monitor top rankings as a good indicator, you'll see that lots of us independents sort of cap out at 100 million, 150 million, getting past the 100 million mark of annual originations
Sure.
sometimes becomes sort of a ceiling. And now I realize why it is. It's because to break through, it's really, really hard. You can get to those levels of success, which are great. Business is profitable. Um, your headcount is generally low. You've got people around you that have been in the business that are vested in and that you trust. And you can run a great business sort of right there. But breaking through, what I've found, we've tried lots of different things to kind of prime the pump, and it's hard. It's hard because you have to expand your ranks. You definitely need a solid middle management team that's committed, that knows what they're doing, that's vested in the business. And you've got to watch out for traps or going in the wrong direction on credit or all these other things to kind of not set yourself back. So I think folks in my position have to really kind of take a strong look in the mirror and go, what do I really want out of this? And my backstory on how we started our business, like I didn't I didn't really take the risks that I did at the time when we were burgeoning company to not want to push through those levels. But I can definitely be sympathetic and aligned with, my peers within the industry. I was like, hey, I'm good. I'm good right here because it is that, headaches and heartaches trying to solve that puzzle that just come with the territory. And I've definitely had that experience too.
Sure. No, I mean, you guys, you and Dennis bet on yourselves, what, 11 years ago now?
Yep. Yep.
Now this is like that next progression where you're like, okay, we're gonna do this too.
Yeah. It's scary, not scary. What's interesting to me is like I really didn't have a lot of anxiety about this sort of all-in nature we went when we started the business. I knew we'd be successful. I knew we'd make it. I probably have more anxiety now about not screwing it up. Like, it may be, you know, it may be an inflation of my own ego to say, hey, we've had success, but I think by measures within our industry, I could say Regents has been a success. But now making these bets to go to the next level, it's like, man, I really don't want to blow it. And it's definitely uncharted territory for me. I mean, I definitely recognized back then I was a rookie CEO, right? Like, hey, I feel confident, I know what I'm doing, but at each level of progression, it's like, okay, we're getting more and more into uncharted territory for myself personally. Definitely there now. So that's why I've got a strong network of folks within the industry. I've got lots of good friends to bounce stuff off of that I've done lots of good business with. I mean, your organization bringing people together is really kind of indicative of that. And I sort of value all those interactions, many of which you help facilitate. So that's very good.
Well, I mean, I've known you guys, I think just before you officially launched,
Mhm.
and one of the admirable, traits you have is you're hands-on as much as you possibly can be. And I've kind of figured that out in learning with you over the years, where you're
Yeah.
just like, what do you mean? What does it take to get that done? And all of a sudden, I'm like,
Yeah.
Don, you can't do that. 5 minutes later, you're like, here you go, it's done. I'm like, all right, man. Okay, I see you. I see you.
Yeah,
So you're not
that
afraid
was
to. You're
actually
not.
the harder part that of growth coming into this role is you've got to like release it or you're not going to grow. I mean, I tell people like it's probably as soon as 5 or 6 years ago, like you had a problem with your computer, I was like crawling under the desk going, what's going on here? And then I'm like, I can't do that anymore.
Well, I mean, but you lead by example, which is a great trait. But I'm understanding some of that stuff now, where it's like you just can't do everything
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
no one else is ever going to step up and do it, and nor is that an effective use of your time either.
Yeah, or you're sending the wrong signal, right? Which is, hey, it's not important for you to step up. I'm always going to bail you out. I'll just do it. And I think, as much as we want to say, hey, we have great relationships with our team, we do all those things, right? But I think always in the back of their mind is like, hey, my manager, boss, superior is sort of here. I don't want to step on their toes, or I don't want to do this, or in some ways it's like, well, hey, if they're going to do it, I'm much more comfortable with letting them do it, right? So I don't get the
Sure.
opportunity to make a mistake. It's nothing that they can pin back on me. And I think most folks, if you've got a great team, which Regents has always been in that position, thankfully, is, they want it. It's actually a corporate value that we say is like go and take it. If you want something, it's not, don't wait, right? Step
Sure.
up. There's lots of opportunity here. It's an enshrined, value that we document that really came up from the organization. Like, what are we about? We're like, we're like, we're about seizing opportunity. We're about going and making things happen. And that if you're gonna sit back and wait, that's just not how you're really going to move the needle. Go and take it. It's one of the stronger values that we have here.
That's fantastic. And it might not work all the time, but
No,
giving it a shot. So
no. I mean, we've got to have an environment where you can make mistakes. You've got to be
yeah,
comfortable with that. You got to learn from them, and make your people feel comfortable that hey, if it doesn't work out, stand up, dust yourself off, and go back at it. Now let's not do it twice, but let's figure out what went wrong there and correct it.
sure, sure. I'm gonna shift gears a little bit. You talked about the top independents. That's what I was looking down at.
Mhm.
Congrats again for making this. So 11 years in
Yeah, and I
six,
think we
seven
hit it.
times.
Yeah, I think we hit it first in 17, if I remember right. That was a big deal. In fact, I think I've still got it here on my bookshelf that I keep it because that was a big deal for us. I mean, to come out of the gate, to start in 11 and hit the list in 17. Um, and that's our backstory is we're a bootstrapped organization. This is an equity backed company other than what Dennis and I put into it. So that's really starting at zero and moving up. So that was a big accomplishment. I'm really excited about next year because the growth and the addition of like our vendor team and what we're doing there and how it's going to impact us. I mean, we're really going to take a leap. We're the originations that I put in for us this year for
Hmm.
2025, we've already we're going to eclipse in May. So we got on the
Well,
roster
and
we did
you,
last
you
year.
guys were already up 13%
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
24, so that's
Yeah.
awesome.
So we've already eclipsed that in May. Um, you know, I like I like hearing the words 100% growth, and there's an opportunity for us to do that. So that's kind of the mission right now is to kind of keep it going. I feel pretty good about it.
That's awesome. Congrats. Yeah, I mean, you
Thanks.
look at that list there, and it's been a lot of the similar, I guess, cast of characters for over the years. But you mentioned something there where it's you guys put this up, right?
Mhm.
I know
Yeah.
there's some bigger independents out there that are PE backed and have some big backing behind them.
Yeah.
So, it allows you guys to be a little bit more nimble, I
Yeah.
guess, in how you guys make your decisions.
Yeah. I mean, I think we get to set our own path. We get to make decisions that we think have longevity. Um, you know, all my peer businesses on that list are strong players. We've all got sort of our own approach and flavor of doing it. Um, and it also morphs over time and falls in line with like, hey, what are we going to do with this independent? I think it's the best time in industry history to be an independent. I feel really good about where we're at and what we get to do within the marketplace. So that's really exciting. I think over the next few years, you're going to continue to see this press of independents doing big things within the industry and plan on being one of those.
That was going to be my next question I was going to ask you is kind of like state of the industry. And, you know, obviously it's been a little ebbs and flows so
Mhm.
far in 2015, but, I talked to a lot of organizations, that, and
Yeah.
more than not are very optimistic about
Mhm.
how things are going. Then you talk to some of the bigger banks and they're just like, yeah, we're going to get back in, but
Yeah.
not really.
Not
So
yet. Exactly. And that's why it's good to be an independent right now, is that I see the independents really as these sort of explorers or folks that find these uncharted territories within times of turbulence, right? Like, hey, we're not gonna go back to harbor. We're gonna find our way through this storm because it's opportunity. Whereas our banking colleagues, I think, mainly because of regulation, compliance, all these other things that they have to deal with that I don't. um, they have to kind of retreat and pause in times like this. And like the thing we're experiencing right now, right? This tariff scare. We all just got back from, the Chicago Funding Conference, which is a, place where everybody's there and we're all sort of giving the lay of the land. And it really was a stark perspective. Half were, oh, I don't know what's going to happen. And, we're going to stay on the sidelines and wait it out. And, my perspective was we're going to go full steam ahead. Um, we have a variety of perspectives of what was going to happen. And now, as you and I are recording this, it looks like it's, definitely reached some level of retreat and pullback, definitely vis-a-vis China. Uh, but there's still uncertainty on kind of what's going to happen. I can tell you that is music to my ears because when folks are on the sidelines, business isn't stopping, right? Companies need equipment. Companies have plans. They want to grow their business. They want the opportunity. All that does is drive those customers to us. So since the beginning of January, we are back into multiple seven-figure opportunities working their way through, because we're the option. We're the option, right? We're out there. We're saying yes. We're gonna fund the business. We've got the opportunity to do so. Um, and if they're going to their bank or running into challenges there, which is usually our main competitor, and the bank's saying, "Hey,
Sure.
we've got to pause," and they don't want to hear that. So we're ready to
Especially,
fill that need.
especially with you know, the ongoing demand to increase our infrastructure and all this building and stuff like that that's going to be happening.
Yeah.
The banks don't want it. Sorry. And then when all of a sudden like, no, 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 no. And then once you have them as a customer and they see how you guys do business, are they really going to want to go back and do it that way? I mean,
Mhm.
yes, they might save a few basis points here and there, but are they going to get that same level of service that they're going to get with you guys or other independents coming
Yeah, what
along?
we've generally found is that, when interest rates, obviously, for a long period of time were artificially low, right? Super low for decades plus. I would say we're back to some level of normalcy. And what that's brought to the marketplace is I almost think it's sort of a psychological switch to the extent that, the CFOs is like, well, hey, if I could get 4% or 3% and change, I'm willing and find it in my best interest to deal with the bureaucracy of what a traditional bank lending requirement might be, right? But as we've moved up the rate curve again, et cetera, I found that their tolerance isn't as great. And as long as you're, an independent's never going to be more competitive than a bank on pricing. The bank wants the deal, they can go much, much lower than what we could do if they want it bad enough. And when you see them surging back into the marketplace, that's what they do, right? It's sort of their play that they can get, and that business naturally starts migrating that way. But the executives that are looking to finance and finance equipment, et cetera, right now, the tolerance is very low to that. So that gives us more opportunity to present our case and say, hey, this is why you're going to want to work with us. We're not going to tie you up. We're not going to make you switch your bank accounts. We're not going to make you buy a building as well as the equipment to make it worth our while. We're here to deliver what you need to have happen, and that's a key element of success. I think we've got months ahead of us of that opportunity.
Fantastic. And then, so getting this warehouse line, what, 7 years into
Mhm.
your runway now?
Mhm.
Um, do you feel that that was a better situation that you guys were already in business for that period before you got it? Or if you had to go back again, would you have tried to get it sooner?
Um, no, I think it was all done at the right time. We had built up the infrastructure, the management, um, the acumen amongst our folks. We had a lot of young people, right? So most, my MO had, a lot of new entrants to the marketplace. They're very seasoned now, which is also translating into our success. No, I think it was right place, right time. We've got a great partner. We got a great banking partner. We've got, a great financing deal that sort of led us into this. So it was right place, right time. I don't think I would have changed it, because we did well and operated how we wanted to. We needed to be prepared to take on that extra burden that comes along with it, right? when you've syndicated everything, you've really just got to sort of onboard and offboard a customer, and that really becomes it, right? Yeah. And we
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
we're still maintaining relationships with the customer, but like everything else that goes along with it from the point, from that first invoice on, we're really there only to be a communication channel to ensure there's any problems, hiccups, whatever, that those all get smoothed out, which we want to. It's never like, oh, it's your problem now. We've never really approached the business that way. But when you do decide to start balance sheeting transactions, there's a lot more to it. And we needed some infrastructure. So it was right place, right time.
Thank you for sharing. I like to always ask kind of like best
Yeah.
practices or
Yeah,
lessons
100%.
learned for people when
Yeah,
they're.
no, I mean anybody who's maybe coming up in the same way that we did, yeah, I would give the advice is just like be honest with yourself. Is your back office in line? Do you have the capacity to generate the reporting, the data? Do you have the team to ensure that the invoicing, booking, accounting, all of these things that go along with it, how prepared are you to deliver those things? Then there's compliance and monthly reporting with your banking partners and all that other stuff, right? So if you're just used to kind of moving deals around, there's a lot more to it. Not every and then that goes back. Like, I don't think every organization wants that burden. I've definitely come across a lot that don't, because it's a lot. I mean, colleagues that I've come up in the business with, yeah, they're like, yeah, I don't want that, and and that's fair because it's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's running a business is stressful enough. You have 80 people relying on you to continue to make the right decisions, and
Mhm.
you can imagine some sleepless nights, but you know,
Yeah,
you're growing it for a purpose. So I
yeah,
get that too.
yeah, for sure.
I guess my next question I have for you is Regents was generous enough a couple of years ago to host one of our EF Cares events.
Mhm.
And since the charity started in 2021, you guys have been annual sponsors. So thank you and the Regents team for that.
Sure.
What was that like, Don? Not granted, I think was that 2021 or 2022?
Yeah,
It
I think,
was.
I mean, with it I don't remember wearing a mask, so I
No,
think it was
I don't think
pre-COVID.
I don't think masks were allowed in the
Yeah,
office.
yeah, yeah,
I think.
yeah. You probably
I mean,
would. Yeah,
I didn't
well,
say
that
that,
could
but
take us in a whole different other. It could take us a whole different direction, but yeah, no, I think maybe I think we were pre-COVID with that. So yeah, it was one of the first, or early ones, maybe your first round of doing them. So however long you've been doing it, maybe it was the first Orange County one.
yeah, I want to
Yeah.
say it was probably, yeah, almost probably 2021. And,
Yeah.
what was that like for the organization? Because that was just coming out. I mean, you guys
Yeah.
were business essential, so I don't think you ever shut down. But
Yeah.
like, what was that like hosting it? Kind of what it mean to the
Oh, yeah.
organization?
No. It's it's great to see our industry respond in a couple of ways. One, there's the philanthropic element of Equipment Finance Cares, right? So I think Laverne had just published her book and was here on site with us and was what we were talking about her journey and how she responded and very poignant thoughts and we had sort of key leadership from our business here to kind of hear the story and see how things have been impacted. So seeing our industry respond and then hearing about all the other ways our peer businesses are impacting other charities, whether it's global outreach to fund schools and clean water in Vietnam, all the way through um, the other projects that the teams have been involved in. It's good to see. So we're a great group of people, and lots of people doing impactful, great things beyond just their professional pursuits. And that we now have a forum within our industry to kind of pull both together, right? Like, hey, let's talk topically about things that are happening within the business. Let's give regional updates and have the capacity to meet at different places, which obviously impacts your frequent flyer miles and things like that of all the places that you get around to host this. But uh it is important to share those professional ideas, much like these chats even do in providing insight on how different businesses come together. But then, hey, let's expose what else, this is a deep industry with lots of different folks doing lots of different things. And, let's highlight where we're making a difference in our communities, in our world. So it's awesome. And we are glad to be like one of the first to bring everybody to do it.
Perfect. Well, thank you for sharing
Mhm.
that. And I know last time I think I probably ended with a fun fact. But I want to say probably since the last 4 years, you're probably now an empty nester. Is that correct?
I'm actually 3 months away from that. So
We're 3 months away.
yeah, so
Okay.
my youngest graduates high school this month, and then she's off to the University of Miami in
So you got
August. Yeah.
Alabama, TCU, and Miami.
And now Miami. So we got 3 for 3 going on. Yeah, no,
Of course,
yeah.
of course.
Mhm.
Well, all three different conferences. So now you get to go. Wait, where did USC go? They go to the
Yeah, see,
ACC.
now we're Big Ten, so we've had to
Oh,
switch
big.
things. So we're
So of course, so none
yeah,
of those colleges are in the
yeah,
Big Ten. So
yeah. No, so we have SEC, Big Ten, and ACC, right? And
well, big
and Big
TCU is
12.
Big
Big
12.
12
Yeah.
and Big 12, yeah.
All right. Sure.
No, a lot
Sure.
more, a lot more time for football watching, that's for sure.
As I say, are you going to take the Outlaw tailgate to Miami for a game?
Not to Miami, because my youngest isn't my biggest football fan.
Okay.
So I doubt we'll take the Outlaw to Miami, but I was very excited about this move of SC to the Big 12 or Big 10. Uh, so that's open, went to Michigan last year, not in the Outlaw. This year, the Outlaw will go to Nebraska and likely Oregon. So those are the road trips. And then yeah, I'll put out a welcome invitation to anybody who wants to follow the Outlaw and join us for any one of the USC tailgates there. All they have to do is get the schedule and let me know if they're around.
Oregon would be fun.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was supposed to do Oregon and I had to cancel it a couple of years ago, but I think this year it's gonna happen.
Not to say Nebraska wouldn't be fun as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, I hear great things. I hear Nebraska is like one of the friendliest places to go and watch football.
Yeah, I've been to one Nebraska game, and it was one of the cupcake games. It was supposed to be a cupcake game at the
Oh
beginning
yeah.
of the year, and at the last second they lost on a Hail Mary to BYU, and I looked at
Yeah.
I looked at Jeff. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
what?
They've had a tough road. I mean, in the 90s, right? They were the dynasty team. So they've had a drought for a long time. We'll leave it there. Sorry, Nebraska fans. You've been in
Yep,
the
yep, yep,
weeds, but
yep.
I get it. I get it. So is SC
Hey,
football.
hey, they have women's volleyball.
Yeah,
We'll leave it.
yeah,
We'll
yeah,
leave
there
it.
you go.
All right, Don. I really appreciate your time today, sir. Congratulations on all your continued success at Regents. Look forward to our paths crossing sometime in the near future.
Excellent. Appreciate doing this, and thanks for all your efforts with Equipment Finance Cares.
Thank you, sir.